Hi, and welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm your host, Jessa Jeremiah. We've got a fabulous show for you today. We are talking later with Gilda's Club of Madison, doing some spotlights on some local businesses today, including one that you might want to listen to. If you ever have a flood, these are your pros. Literally, they're called flood pros. I'm joined by General Manager Chris Pico. Thanks for being with us today.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to share a little bit about your business. Now, we're talking about water damage and mitigation work. You're in Janesville. If viewers haven't heard of Flood Pros, tell us a little bit about the company.
Sure. So Flood Pros is a mitigation-focused emergency response company specializing in water, smoke, fire, and mold damage. We can help return a structure back to safe conditions for living and working in, and we can oftentimes help navigate the difficult insurance processes involved.
I'm so glad to hear that, because that can be one of the most daunting parts of dealing with some of these things, is just how do you work with the insurance company? What are some of the steps you need to take? So really having not only a pro in dealing with these, sometimes catastrophic situations, but also having the insurance side of it is key. Let's talk a little bit about how you got started in restoration work. Sure.
Our company's been doing this now since 1992, so over 25 years experience in dealing with these types of losses. We started with carpet cleaning and basic things like that, and when you do carpet cleaning, you're frequently getting calls for people with wet basements, and they need help with these types of things. Soon after doing that for many years, you realize that you want more and more education, so we focused on having a company do just that. We educate our individual crews, and we deal with water damage on a daily basis now.
Wow, that's really incredible to know that there's that many folks out there needing your services. Let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned like basement flooding or something. For homeowners out there, what kinds of issues do you see outside of that?
Sure, there can be a lot of things that might require the Flood Pros type services. It could be some ongoing issue like visible mold or an air quality issue, but more often than not, it's an unplanned emergency. Oftentimes caused by something like a plumbing failure or a drain backup, a roof leak, or a power outage that can result in a pump failure. That's a very common thing that we see, is especially with spring coming around the corner, we're going to get a lot of storms, have some power outages. With no electricity, your sump pump's probably not going to work.
Wow, lots of things to think about, and oftentimes you don't think about it until, unfortunately, you've got an emergency. So to avoid some of that, what are some steps that homeowners can take to avoid having some of these problems happen before it happens?
Sure. Yeah, there are some steps you can take. Some of these things are just going to happen, but some simple steps that a homeowner can take. Make sure your downspouts and gutters are clear and draining properly away from the home. Check your plumbing supply lines throughout the home. Look for corrosion or cracked pieces. And anywhere that you can, consider upgrading to braided steel lines. Supply lines like your toilet and your sinks and your washing machine, you can upgrade those to braided steel. They're less likely to fail, less likely to leak. But definitely check your sump pumps. Make sure they're working. Consider adding a battery backup as well. That can prevent a lot of damage.
Wow, what a great checklist for people that, I would certainly not have thought of most of the things on that list. Let's say we didn't get to the whole checklist and something happens, or maybe you did and it happens anyways. How is hiring a company like yours, kind of back to the insurance component? You're able to help us with that process. Does insurance usually pay? Who's got to pay for this?
Oftentimes they can. If it's a plumbing-based failure, many of those can be covered with homeowners insurance. There are some instances out there where perhaps it's not going to be covered, and we can still work for homeowners or businesses to get them back in working order as soon as possible using good industry standard practices. But yes, oftentimes it can be covered under insurance, and as you mentioned earlier, having a company that's experienced in not only correcting the problem, but also dealing with the financial side of things and helping you get through that, we have that experience.
Wow, okay. We're going to head to break in just a minute, but any other services that you offer to homeowners in the Madison area?
Well, we do consultation and moisture checking if somebody's just unsure if they have an issue. We do air quality testing if you're concerned with having mold in the air. And we do basement waterproofing and fixing cracks in foundational walls.
Wow, there's a lot on that list. Well, thank you for sharing some of your services. I appreciate it. This is Chris Pico with Flood Pros. I hope you don't have any of these issues, you at home, but if you do, you know who to call. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back with more Talk of the Town.